Thank you. Okay. So we'll begin in a few seconds. Thank you very much. Okay, great. Okay, so I think we can begin. So good morning, everyone. My name is Adi. I am from the ISER, Directorate in the Israel Innovation Authority, and I am the national contact point for the Marie Skłodowska-Curie actions, which one of them is the Marie Curie Postdoctoral Fellowships. Today we will have a webinar about how to write a competitive proposal for this grant, which is very different from other grants that you may already wrote in the past. This is not a scientific proposal, grant proposal. This is really about how you are going to impact your own career and your long-term vision for yourself. So this is more of a narrative type of proposal writing, and we will go through it. Before I begin, I will say that this presentation is being recorded and will be shared with everyone who registered to this webinar. Also, the slides will be shared with you. And another thing before we begin, I will also say that this webinar is focusing on how to write the proposal for this grant. I will go quickly about the eligibility rules, but not as thoroughly as I did a month and 2 months ago in our introduction webinar. I added in the chat a link to our introduction webinar to this grant, and you can watch it later and view all the and see all the eligibility conditions. But this webinar will not focus on the eligibility conditions this time, but how to write a competitive proposal. So questions should be focused really on this. And with that, I think we can begin. If you have any questions, you can write them in the Q&A box. And I will make a short break in the middle and also leave time at the end to answer questions. Just a second, let me see. Can you share again the link for the previous webinar? Yes, I wrote it in the chat. If it does not appear, let me know. I will share it now also in the Q&A to the person who asked it. Just a moment. Okay. So we will begin. So our agenda for today is really to give a very quick overview of the 2026 call with a little bit about the eligibility rules and key dates. Then we will explain how the proposal is being evaluated, what are the evaluation criteria, who is evaluating your proposal. We will discuss about how to craft the proposal with the initial information that you need to add in the portal, in the proposal portal. So the abstract, the acronym of your proposal, the formatting, and these technical issues. And then we will deep dive into the evaluation criteria, the excellence, impact, and implementation. Afterwards, we will give a few tips what you should take into consideration when you craft your proposal, all kinds of common mistakes that people make that you should avoid. And at the end, we will leave time for questions. Also, I will make a break after, just before deep diving into the evaluation criteria, before talking about the excellence, impact, and implementation. I will stop for a few minutes to see if there are any questions. And afterwards, I will, as I said, I will share with you the slides. You will have slides with training that you can do, so you can practice yourself how to write a proposal with all from all kinds of aspects, with how to write the communication section, how to write your career development plan, and all sorts of those things. So let's begin. So, as I said, my name is Adi, and I am the national contact point for the Noris Skłodowska-Curie actions. And one of these actions are the postdoctoral fellowships that we will discuss today, that will discuss how to write a competitive proposal for this grant. We are part of the Israel Innovation Authority in the ISERD, and our goal is to help Israel promote and increase the participation in the Horizon Europe grant program. This is a very huge grant program that has about 100 billion euros in it for different kinds of grant programs. And our mission and our goal is really to help the Israeli community to be aware of those grants and to succeed and to apply and to succeed in them. And as a Maurice Skłodowska-Curie Actions national contact point, we are conducting introduction webinars to the different grant programs that this program has. We are making workshops on how to write a proposal, We can answer any questions that you have. And also we can even proofread your proposals if you are submitting with an Israeli institute. Also, what you should know is that just like I am a national contact point for the Marie Curie actions in Israel, you have this position in every country that participates in the Horizon Europe program, and even in countries that don't participate in the Horizon Europe countries. So if you are going to do your postdoc supposedly in Germany or Britain, Switzerland, do know that there is a national contact point in these countries, and you can contact them, and they know much more about the academic and the industrial environment of their country, and they have connections, and they can help you also to draft your proposal. So it's very recommended to contact the national contact point in the country of your host organization. A little bit about the 2026 call. This is a call that is being released every year, once a year. The deadline is usually in September. And so this year also, it's in September 9th. The deadline will be September 9th at 5 o'clock Brussels time. So make sure that you submit it not after that. You can submit your proposal as many times as you want until September 9 at 5 o'clock. Only the last version will be accepted in the system and will be evaluated. Proposals will not be evaluated before that. So know that you can write your proposal again and again and submit it several times. And only on September 9 at 5 o'clock Brussels time, it will be registered in the system. The budget is approximately 400 million euros, and it is expected to fund approximately 1,600 projects. You can see here a screenshot of how the page of the proposal where you can submit your proposal looks like. It is called the European Union Funding and Tenders portal. It's also clickable, so when I send you the slides, you can also access the link. But you can see here the screenshot. When you go to the start submission, you can see you need to choose the track of the grant. So it can be either European track or global track. So the European track is when you have one host in a European Union or associated country that is associated to the Horizon Europe program, like Israel, like Britain, like Switzerland. And then you have the global fellowships. This is when you have two hosts, one in a European Union or associated country, and another one in a country that is not part of the Horizon Europe program, for example, United States, and even Canada that does participate in Horizon Europe, but not in this specific program. So you need to choose the right track, and then you will have templates you will enter the system, and you will have templates to download and to write your proposal. And just make sure that you choose the right track, because the templates that will be available to you will be according to the track that you choose. Another thing regarding eligibility, you need to have until September 9 a PhD, or at least prove that you have successfully defended your PhD. You need to have a maximum 8 years of full-time research experience after you received your PhD. And also, you need to make sure that you meet the mobility rule, which means the country where your host organization is a country that you did not live or worked there for more than 12 months in the 3 years before the call deadline. Meaning, if since September 10, 2023, no more than 12 months, accumulative months occurred in which you worked or studied in the country that you want to move to, then you can apply to the institution in this country. Now you can see here the list of the participating countries of the Horizon Europe program. All the European Union member states are there, and 24 associated countries, in which Israel also appears, and Britain and Switzerland. So these are countries that can participate in this grant, and they are considered as for you they are part of the European fellowship track. And if you want to do your research in a country that does not participate in Horizon Europe, suppose United States, then this will be the global fellowships track. But you will also need to have a host from one of the countries that do participate in the Horizon Europe, because this will be your main host, and this will be the host that will actually receive the grant funding, and they will be responsible to distribute it to you and to the other host in the country that does not participate in Horizon Europe. The funding is according to the months of the fellowship. You choose how many months you want to do. It can be from 12 months to 36 months, according to also to the fellowship track. So global fellowships can be up to 36 months, and European fellowships up to 24 months. It is calculated automatically according to the months and the location that you will do your fellowship. So all the researchers are receiving practically the same amount per month. The difference is really the location of the location of the postdoc that you are having, the location of the country where you do your postdoc. So the living allowance is adjusted according to the country's how do you say, sorry, according to the to how expensive the country or not expensive the country that you're going to stay at. So this is calculated differently, but other than that, everyone is receiving the same amount per month, and it is divided to the amount that you are receiving as a salary and the amount that the institution is receiving to support your research, your networking activities, and any other management of the grant. Regarding the part that you receive as a salary, make just to note that this is a gross amount. It is advised that you will discuss with your host institution and ask for a salary simulation so that you know what will be your net amount, because this is the gross amount and this is the amount that the employer is deducting all the taxes. So it's important that you also know what is expected to you and ask for a salary simulation. The submission timeline. So as said, you are submitting by September 9 at 5 o'clock Brussels time. Then there are 5 months of evaluation. These evaluations are happening remotely. Afterwards, results are being published, and it takes approximately 2 months to sign the grant agreement. And after the grant agreement is signed, then the projects can begin. You can choose when you want to start your project once the grant is signed. So it can be anything from after the grant is signed, usually it's around May, and up to 2 years after the call deadline. So that means September 2028. So make sure to plan your project according to the expected timeline, and also coordinate it with your supervisor and host. What changed since 2025? So if some of you already were already familiar with this grant or submitted in the past, so just know that in 2026, the secondments duration increased. So now it is up to 50% of the duration if it's European fellowships. And if you're doing global fellowships, it's up to 50% of your outgoing phase, meaning the time that you are at the global host organization. It used to be 1/3 of the duration, and now it's increased. You can do secondments up to 50% of your fellowship duration. Secondments are significant times that you are spending in additional organizations anywhere in the world. Then for formatting, you are required to write with size 11 for Times New Roman for the body text and also for the tables. So it was not like this in the 2025 call. It did not include tables. So now 11 points are also required for tables. Then in part A, you are no longer required to list 5 publications. So know that this is not a requirement anymore. And regarding the resubmission rules, if you submitted in the past and you submitted last year and you want to submit again, so if you received a score that is above 80, you can submit. But if you receive a score that is below 80, you need to wait 1 call before you can submit again. But if you submitted and you received above 85, then you earned what's called a seal of excellence, meaning that the European Commission has seen you as an excellent researcher, and there are all kinds of opportunities in different academies around Europe that are looking to hire these researchers that received the Seal of Excellence. So you have here in the link in this slide all kinds of opportunities around Europe where you can also apply to do your postdoc. If you are resubmitting, also make sure that you use the updated template. Every year they change the template. Know that they are judging you from scratch. They are not looking at your previous submission. So improve the whole proposal and not just the comments that you received. Also, last year, the comments were actually not very specific. They were actually just in terms of good or poor or excellent. So there are not much information that could have been taken from these comments. So make sure to look at your proposal as a whole, and know that you are competing each year with others. That so you cannot know where on what you will you may fail or miss. And also make sure to refresh your state of the art. The science is always advancing and changing, so make sure that you add any recent developments or publications since last time. The proposal structure. So you have actually three parts. You have part A, which are the administrative forms. You are filling them online when you do the start submission on the funding and tenders portal. So you have a window with all kinds of questions. This is part A. These are administrative forms. This is general information about the proposal, including the abstract of the proposal, information about yourself, about the organizations that are participating, the budget, which is calculated automatically according to the duration of your fellowship and the location of it, ethics declaration, and additional questions that you need to declare, that you need to also reply and declare. Then you have the part B1 and part B2. This is a document that you are downloading, and then you will need to upload again to the system in a PDF version in two separate files, one for part B1 and one for part B2. The file names are irrelevant. I'm mentioning it because this is a repeating question, so it doesn't matter how you name the file names. Part B1 is the proposal. This is the document that you are being evaluated on. You can write up to 10 pages. It has the evaluation criteria of excellence, impact, and implementation of your project. You choose how much you want to expand on each criteria, but in total, it can be up to 10 pages, and any excess pages will just be deleted and will not be visible to the evaluators. Then you have part 2 that has no page limit, and it has also additional information about you, about the participating organization, and you can also have add more information there about all sorts of different aspects, for example, ethics or environmental aspects of your proposal, security aspects. And also, if you're doing global fellowships, this is where you add a letter of commitment from the global host organization that tells the evaluators, we are aware that this researcher wants to come to our facility. We will provide them with the infrastructures needed, and so on. How you are being evaluated. So first of all, as I said, you have 3 evaluation criteria: excellence, impact, and the implementation, how you are implementing your proposal with regards to the work plan, the work packages, the tasks, what deliverables are going to be in this project, milestones, and also what are the hosting arrangements that are going to be in your during your fellowships. Each criteria is being scored. Each criterion is being scored. From 0 to 5, and you need a minimum of score 3 in order to even be be considered for a grant. And then they are calculating. So each criteria has its own weight. So excellence has 50% weight, impact 30%, and implementation 20%. And together, it is being calculated to a score that is from 0 to 100. But before they are calculating the score from 0 to 100, it is from 0 to 5. So here you can see, get a little bit of impression what each score means. You need minimum 3 to pass so that you can even be considered for to be awarded. And as you can see, it can be also in half points. And since the competition is very, very tight, you need to be the best in every criterion. The excellence, the impact, and the implementations are equally important. You really need to excel in all three. You are choosing the submission panel. You're choosing the scientific field in which which your proposal is the most relevant to, and the evaluation the ranking list there will be different ranking lists for each scientific panel. So if your proposal, your project is the most relevant to the chemistry panel, so you will compete against all the proposals in the chemistry panel. So you need to choose one that is most relevant. Even if your proposal is interdisciplinary, you need to choose one that is the most relevant, that most defines your proposal. But then you can also on the portal, in the part A of the submission, you can add additional fields so that the evaluators that are going to check your proposal can come from different fields, not just the main one. And here you can see the scores of last year. So the minimum score to receive funding for each scientific panel and each track, European fellowships or global fellowships, were very, very high. You can see that you need to really excel in every criterion and every evaluation aspect. The competition is very high, and so it's really important that you answer everything and as thoroughly and concisely as possible. So who reads your proposals? The proposals are submitted, and after September 9, they are being distributed to evaluators according to the scientific panels of the proposals and keywords. In part A, you add all kinds of free keywords so that the system can match these keywords to the most relevant evaluators that they have in the system, so that really the most relevant people that could evaluate your proposals will be selected. There are minimum 3 evaluators for each proposal, and each of them is evaluating your proposal independently, separately, remotely. Then they meet for a consensus meeting and write one report. They need to decide together on the grade that they are jointly giving, and afterwards this report goes to a panel review, and then the scores are each proposal is being scored again against other proposals in their scientific panel. It's important that you know that the experts, the evaluators that evaluate your proposal, they may not know everything about your neuroscientific field. So you should consider the fact that maybe a non-expert may read your proposal. So write it so that even the least specialist reader still gets it, okay? And that means that also if you're writing with acronyms and the very unique words to your scientific fields, then explain them, because you can never know if this evaluator really knows the terms that you are using. And when the proposals are going to the panel review, this is a whole new set of evaluators that are finalizing your evaluation summary report with the scores and comments and decision. And as said, they are ranking it according to the panel, they are ranking it for each scientific panel and for each action type. So the global fellowships and the European fellowships. So if you're submitting to the chemistry panel, so there will be chemistry panel for the global fellowships and chemistry panel for the European fellowships, and they compete against each other. And if there are ties, like same scores, and the panel needs to decide which proposals get funded, then knows that these ties are broken by first the grade of the excellence, then the score of the impact, afterwards the implementation. And if all of those are equal, they are the same, then they go to other aspects, such as consideration of gender balance. Is there a geographic diversity? Did you include something that is called widening countries? These are countries usually from East Europe, but not only. You can search this term and see if you have all kinds of cooperation with them that can give you bonus points. If you are having cooperation with the non-academic sector or any kind of environmental factors, all of these can break the tie. So it's really good that to add those to the proposal if relevant. And know that you're writing for human evaluators. So these evaluators, they usually receive about 10 proposals, around 10 proposals to evaluate each round. You need to make sure that they read it, that they enjoy reading it, that they are not getting bored, that they are not getting frustrated with not understanding the whole the point that you are trying to make. So really try to make it easy and pleasant with plain English. Explain your if there are specific terms, scientific terms. Really try to make them want to read your proposal, enjoy reading your proposal. We suggest to start with part A before everything. Part A is the information in the funding and tenders portal, because there are some questions there that you will need your host institution to answer. For example, there is this question: does the institution has a gender equality plan? So this is something that you need to know from the institution itself. Do they have a gender equality plan? If they don't, that's fine. You can mark that they don't, but if the institution is being awarded, if you are being awarded, then the institution will need to create a gender equality plan by the time that the grant agreement is signed. But this is information that you need to know from your host. And there are all sorts of other information that also you need to consult with them. So don't wait with this part to the last minute. Start with it first. And then when you start to write, when you look at the part B, the narrative part, the proposal, where you write your what is your project about, look at it as a whole and not by sections, not by excellence, impact, and implementation. Try and look at it as one story, how everything is being connected. Because, for example, objectives and methods, they are part of excellence, but work plan is part of the implementation, but it is all connected to each other. So see how you can write it in a way that is really like a story, that everything is connected together. We recommend to start with a short introduction and a short conclusion just to frame the whole narrative. Remember that this is a strategic communication document where you are presenting your research and your career plan. This is not a scientific paper. You're writing not just your research, how innovative and original your research is, also about how you are advancing yourself, because European Commission, the goal for this program, the whole program, is not just to advance excellent science. It's one of the goals, but it's also to make sure that the researchers with the most potential to continue in research and they know what they want to do and they have a vision for their career will receive this grant. So it doesn't matter if you're thinking of continuing your research in the industry or in the academy. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, but you need to have a clear vision where you are going to be in 5 years, in 10 years, and you need to be very convincing how you're going to make it happen, what training you're going to acquire in this project, how you're going to advance your skills, your networking. This is as important as the innovation of your research. Also, you need to add to it a European added value, because again, this is a grant that is part of the Horizon Europe program managed by the European Commission, and they have specific goals that they want to achieve, and this program is one of their tools to achieve them. So see how your proposal can have this added value for them so that you can impress them more. So what they are looking for, gender equality, you're looking to see how you are having environmental considerations. If you're having your projects with regards to health, that advances the health sector, social inclusion, open science, the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals. These are priorities of the European Union, and if you can address them convincingly, then it will just give you a bonus points. And so as said, this is more than just a research grant. This is research and also your career development. The evaluators will need to look at both parts equally, the innovation of your research and also the vision of your career development and how during this project you are going to advance your career and skills. So you need to know, before you write, you need to know where you're headed. You need to align your research goals with your long-term career aspirations, and accordingly choose the most suitable host institution and supervision. And know that this is really a tool for you to also build international networks for your future collaboration. So you need to have innovative research and also clear career vision in order to succeed. In addition, I will also say that in the proposal, you need to show how this project, this fellowship is going to enhance your skills. You need to be very convincing there. You need to show how it's going to advance your career development and future prospects. You need to show how this will position you as a very competitive and independent researcher in Europe and beyond. You will show how during these months and the years of fellowship, you will require the skills, the gaps that you currently have, so that when you end the project, you are going to be a very attractive researcher in the academy or in the industry. So when you write, try and write with short sentences, active voice, plain English, not too long sentences with what's called a hot air, not too much, not to the point, and define every term that you are using on the first use. So it's really the evaluators it's easy for them to read your proposal and understand it quickly. Now the abstract. So you write the abstract in part A in the portal. And when you write the abstract of your proposal, remember again that this is not a scientific abstract. This is a strategic communication tool. So it needs to include not just the innovation, the research innovation part. It needs to be very clear and it needs to be accessible to the non-specialists. It has a maximum of 2,000 characters, including spaces. And it's also going to be publicly available on a website that is called Cordis. So if you have any sensitive information, don't add it to the abstract, because this is going to be available on the Cordis website. You can there is a link in this slide. You can access it and see all sorts of abstracts for the postdoctoral fellowships and to get an impression. When you write the abstract, then you need to include the context and the relevance of your project. Why now? Why you researching it now? What are your objectives? How is it innovative? How it goes beyond the state of the art, and what impact it's going to have. You need to choose also, besides a title for your project, you need to choose an acronym, a short name for your project. So this is the name that will appear on your proposal, and once you choose it, it cannot be changed. It must be short, easy to pronounce, and memorable. But it's really up to you. You can choose any word that you choose. You can see in the last sentence here all kinds of project acronym names. It is just our advice to make sure that when you choose one, that it's memorable, that it's nice to say, that it doesn't have any unintended meanings in English or in your language or in the language of the hosting country. And you can use, we linked here a website that can generate for you acronyms, and now with the AI tools, it's also very easy. This is something that supposedly we advise not a way not to write a proposal. Try not to write it too bulkily, and it's really hard to read like this. Try to space the paragraphs, even try and make a little spacing in the beginning. Sorry. If you're using visuals, if you want to add pictures, so make sure to add them only where it's really relevant, because it takes a lot of space. You only have 10 pages and you want to make sure that you cover everything thoroughly, but concisely, because again, it's only 10 pages. So visuals take space. If you're choosing visuals, make sure that they are readable and they have high resolution and that they are sharp. They have it's easy, that it will be easy. You want to make the reading for the evaluators as easy and comfortable and pleasant as possible. So these are examples of visuals that are not so pleasant. And finally, before we go to the evaluation criteria, the formatting, so you need to write at the minimum with size 11, both for the body text and tables. Headers, foot and endnotes, notes, captions, and so on, they can have a minimum of 8 points. And you have here all kinds of additional formatting requirements that you can read. What I will emphasize here is the hyperlinks. So also you can see it in the guide for applicants, in the official guide for applicants, it is mentioned that hyperlinks links will not be opened by the evaluators. They are requested not to open them if their purpose is to expand your proposal. So if you're referring the evaluators to a different, an external link, so that you will not need to explain more about something in your proposal, then this is not, they will not open the link and they will not read further. They will only read your proposal, but they can search if they want to validate your claims. They can search if they want. For any other information, you can add hyperlinks. If their purpose is not to expand your proposal, you can add them in the footnotes. And now we can begin to explain about the evaluation criteria and what is required in them. But I will make a short break for questions. So just a moment, let's see, what are the questions so far? So there is a question I saw in part A, the requirement of 5 publications. Right, so now it is not, it is written there, but you are not required to fill it. Not in part A. It will be in part B2, and this is where you do need to add this information. But in part A, even though you see it, you do not need to fill it. Can you share the presentation? Yes, I will share the presentation with everyone who registered. What does the seal of excellence gives you? Okay, so first of all, everyone who received a score above 85, they receive this PDF that says that you are that you received the seal of excellence, meaning you are a very excellent researcher with high potential. And what it gives is that there are all kinds of collaborations that the European Union, European Commission has with academic institutions, so that these institutions accept and hire researchers that applied for the Marie Skłodowska-Curie reactions to the postdoctoral fellowships, received a very high score, but did not, but still did not receive an award. So there is a list. There is a link in this. You can look it up online, and also it's in these slides. It's a link with a list of all kinds of organizations that want to hire postdocs that received a very high score in the Marie Skłodowska-Curie program. So this gives you opportunity, hiring opportunity, recruitment opportunities in different European institutions. And this list always updates. Where is the CV template? I don't see it in the downloaded template file. So I will look again at the templates, at the part B2 template. But in any case, they should write to you. They should write how exactly the format is expected to be. I will look it up and share with you afterwards, after the webinar, in the email that I will share with everyone. Do the evaluators know my name and origin country? Yes, the evaluators know. The evaluators know, they receive all the information about you. About the secondment, can you speculate on why the period was extended to 50%? Actually, I'm not sure about the reason why they decided to expand it. Perhaps to give more opportunities with additional organizations. Perhaps they saw this opportunity was not utilized enough. Does it say something about the importance of the secondments for the proposals? It might, because we saw in a recent report that was published from the Maurice Curie National Contact Points Network, that secondments could have an impact on to break a tie. So it could have importance, but again, it has to be relevant. It has to be realistic. It has to go with your objectives. So add it if necessary. What is the financial scheme with the secondment hosting organization? So the financial scheme is that the host organization receives the monthly grant, and so part of it is for your salary, and part of it is to manage the grant. One of the things that they need to manage is also your travels and your secondment or hosting in different organizations. So they will have an arrangement with the additional institution, in which they will according to their decision. It's up to them, but they can transfer some of the grant money for those secondment months to these institutions. Sometimes the secondment institutions do not want to receive any funding for the time that they are hosting the researchers. This is something that needs to be discussed between those institutions. But yes, your main host institution can distribute the funding of those secondment months to that institution. What proposals are you in the ISERD not reading? I plan to apply, and I am Israeli, graduated from Israel University. Okay, so because we really don't have a lot of capacity, and also one of our goals is really to advance the Israeli innovation community, but with that, it is really the Israeli institutions. We read proposals in which one of the host organizations is from Israel. So if it is European fellowships, and you are applying with an Israeli institution, we can read your proposal. If you are applying to a global fellowship, and for example with a institution from United States, but you are also another host institution is from Israel, then we will read it. Again, if we have the capacity, if we have the time, because we are very, very limited. We only have 2 people for the Maurice Curie actions here in this office, so it really depends on the capacity. But if you are applying, it says here to a Polish university, then you can contact the national contact points in Poland and ask for their assistance and see if they can proofread your proposal. So please contact them and check with them if they can do that. A lot of national contact points around the world offer to proofread the proposal. I will read another three questions, and then I will continue and answer the rest of the questions afterwards. If I'm resubmitting the proposal, can I keep the same acronym, or is it better to choose a new one? Is there any recommendation on this? This is a good question. I'm actually not so sure. You can keep the same acronym. There is nothing against it. There is no rule against it. But recommendation-wise, I will need to check that. I will need to check that and get back on that when I send you the email after the webinar. Can the acronym be the same as the one used in my last year proposal? So okay, that is the same question. So I will check. It can, but if referring to if it's recommended, I need to check. I'm not sure, but it's not allowed. Can I start a project in July despite university's vacation? You can start a project whenever you want, but the funding will only begin after the grant agreement is signed. So if you're talking about this July this year, you can, but it means that there are going to be at least a year of the project that is not being funded. So you need, when you write your proposal, write it so it's going to, so you're really starting you are continuing your project for one year from now. So don't write your proposal as if the first month started this month, but as if it started in about a year from now. But if you're referring to July of 2027, definitely this something that you need to just discuss with your host organization and supervisor. If it is okay with them, then it is okay with the grant. Please explain the meaning of 11 points for tables that you mentioned. So this is just the size of the text side. So if you're using Times New Roman, then you need to have it at a minimum of size 11 and not less than that. I'll answer another question, and that we will continue. Is it important to add a foot or end notes? Where and how to add them best? So the where and where, like, if you mean if there is a specific way to write them, there is not. I asked the European Commission specifically this question, and they said that any style that you want to write your footnotes, and it's accepted. There is no specific style. And it is important only if you choose if this is important. If it is something that you think that you can, if you want to refer to show that you have literature references, then it can be important. But really depends on the context. It's up to you to decide what is important. I would say that if you want to quote something or to reference from a different article, then yes, add the footnote. Okay, so I will, if it's okay, I will stop here with questions because I want to continue, and then I will answer all the other questions. Okay, so now we will dive into the evaluation criteria. Just a second. And it starts with excellence, which has which has a 50% of the total score. So let's start. So here you can see on the left the excellence evaluation aspects. The evaluators will look at your innovation objectives, your research objectives, how relevant they are, how they are ambitious, how much they are ambitious, and how they go beyond the state of the art. They will look at your proposed methodology. They will see if there are any interdisciplinary approaches. If there aren't, it's fine. But if there is, they will look at it. Are there any consideration of the gender dimension in your research? Again, if there aren't, that's fine, but you need to mention why it is irrelevant, or any other diversity aspect that may be relevant, and the quality of open science practices that we will expand soon on it, meaning how you're going to make sure that the results are being shared with the public. Then they will check the quality of your supervision, the training, and how they also need to see how the knowledge is being transferred from your host institution and supervisor to you, and also how what knowledge that you already have, you will transfer to the host institution and supervisor. They want to see the complementarity, how not just how you will advance your skills, but also how you will contribute to the host institution in which you will do your postdoc. And they will look at your professional experience and skills. So we start with the research objectives and the innovation and the ambition of the proposal. When you write your objectives, we have here an acronym: make them SMART, meaning specific. They are tied to your project. They are not too vague. Measurable, it's very important that it's very clear how and when it is being achieved. Achievable, they need to be realistic with regards to your time, the time of your fellowship, the resources that you have. They need to be relevant to your scientific field and also to you, to your career, how they're going to advance you as a researcher. And they need to be time-bound if they need to fit the project timeline. And it really connects to the achievability, how realistic it is. So we suggest to open with your overall aim. If you want to use visuals, use it only if really it's relevant. When you expand on the ambitious part, make sure that it's realistic. So we saw comments from evaluators that said this project is not too ambitious, so it could have been have more challenges in it. But we also, at the same time, we also saw comments that said this project is too ambitious, which means maybe it's too ambitious for the researcher at their current career stage, or maybe it's too ambitious because the project is only, I don't know, 12 months, and it seems impossible to achieve all of the objectives in this period of time. So you need to really make it balanced and make it ambitious enough so that it impress, but not too ambitious so it will be a shortcoming. And as for the state of the art, show clearly how your project goes beyond the current knowledge. And our tip is we believe that up to 5 objectives would usually be enough. And each objective should be linked to a specific work package that you will expand in the implementation section. Then there is the methodology. So methodology is really, starts with the objectives and then how you're going to implement it. But then it also has an aspect later in the in your work plan. So everything is really connected. Work plan is part of the implementation section. So everything is really connected. I'm mentioning it because this proposal is really a story that you write. So make sure that everything is connected, everything makes sense, and that once the reader goes through the work plan, they know that it connects to the methodology and all the aspects that you wrote about the objectives and the methodology are also relevant to this work plan. So evaluators want to see concrete methods tied to each objective. What techniques are you going to use? What equipment? What are the risks that are going to you may have, and how you're going to handle those risks? If you're having secondments or short visits or any other visits to additional organizations, explain their importance with terms of science. And this is also where the methodology part is also where you address if there are any interdisciplinary aspects, gender aspects. You explain about the open science practices, and I will expand on it in the next slide as well. So if you have interdisciplinary aspects in your proposal, so it's not just in one specific scientific area, then you need to address it, and you need to show the synergies of those disciplines why you are mixing several disciplines to achieve your research objectives, and show where those interdisciplinary aspects appear. Is it in the supervision? Maybe the supervisor is coming from a little bit of a different field. Is it in the dissemination of the results? Maybe different audience that you want to exploit your results with, methodology, and so on. Explain so how they will be brought together to achieve the project objectives. And if your proposal is not interdisciplinary, just mention it and justify why it is not necessary. If there are any gender aspects or diversity aspects with regards to the research, explain. If it's not relevant, also mention why it's not relevant, justify why it's not relevant. In open science, so all proposals are required to be to meet the open science requirements, which means results of projects should be accessible as much as possible, where it's possible, and it's mandatory. So you need to describe how you're going to apply those open science practices. What if you're going to share data, softwares, models, so on, and in which platforms you're going to share those results. During your project, you will need to will have a mandatory deliverable, which is called the FAIR Data Management Plan. FAIR stands for findable, accessible, interoperable, reusable, and this is really relates to the open science requirements. So just so you know that this is a document that you will need to create during your proposal. And now for supervision. So your supervision, the evaluators will want to see a strong match between your project topic, your background, and the supervisor. You will need to see how it complements your project. So specify the supervisor's key achievements and experience, their recognition and scientific expertise, their connections and networks that are relevant, that may help you advance how you're going to use this supervisor to advance your objectives. What experience does this supervisor has with supervising and mentoring postdocs? How many, and measure it. How many postdocs did this supervisor had so far? Are there any success stories? And does this supervisor has the capacity to support you? So are they there full time in the institution, or they're sharing their time with, they have additional positions and then they are not available to assist you? It is important that you show that they have the capacity to support you as much as you will need. Another aspect is the two-way knowledge transfer, meaning what knowledge you will receive from the supervisor and host organization, and what knowledge you will share with them. What skills you so far gained, what knowledge you so far gained that you can contribute to them. So show why this is the ideal fit, why you and this host and this supervisor is the best fit to advance your science and your skills, and also how it helps them to advance as well. Highlight added value of secondments or of secondments, for example, with regards to leadership skills that you may require, any kind of maybe interest, maybe different sectors that you will also have opportunities to work to do your research there. And if you're doing global fellowships, show how the knowledge that you will acquire will be integrated at the European host. This is a very important note regarding global fellowships. The goal is really to advance Europe. When I say Europe, I mean all the countries that pay to participate in the Horizon Europe program. So these are all the European Union member states and also all the associated countries. These are, for example, as I said, Israel, Switzerland, Britain, and they want the European Union, the European Commission want to advance these countries. So if you're doing global fellowships, show how the knowledge that you acquire will be integrated then at the European host. Training, they should be very meaningful and aligned with your career objectives, diverse. They need to have also both research-specific skills and career-related skills. And you need to explain where and how you will acquire them, the training, where, when, and where you will have those trainings, and in what aspects you will have training. Later in your project, you will need to submit a career development plan. You write it together with your supervisor, but this is really the proposal is a place where you can briefly mention it and what currently are your vision. This is something that can be developed and changed during your fellowship. This is perfectly accepted, but for at least for the start, you need to make sure that it is clear what is your current vision of your career and how it is going to be developed together with your supervisor. Reflect on any identify any skill gaps. For example, be very frank about it. Say, I still don't have knowledge on this subject, but I will receive training during my project so that I can be very skilled in it. And make sure that it is realistic. Don't add too many trainings. Add the minimum necessary so that really that it can advance you as a researcher and still be impressive but realistic. Then you will need to show the skills. You will need to demonstrate what skills you have and how this grant why this grant is going to be very significant to advance you even farther. Describe why you are the best person to do this particular fellowship, this particular research in this host organization with this supervisor, why this will really advance the research and your career. So show your background, what you bring. This is really where it can be assessed what knowledge you bring to the host organization and the supervisor. So for example, as I said in the last slide, if you have any skill gaps, for example, if you need a language, additional language in your host organization, then say I will, and you still don't have this skill, you can say I will have training to know this, to know better the language, or if you do know the language, then specify it because it's very relevant. Don't repeat your CV. Add only the main and relevant achievements, what's most relevant to show that you are really the best person to have this, to receive the grant for this project. And now for impact. Impact has 30% of the total score. And this is where the evaluators want to see what impact this project is going to have on your career and on the science and any other additional aspects, such as maybe social, on the society, on the economy, on the environment, and so on. So this is the evaluation aspects that are being evaluated, the career perspectives and employability of the researcher after the project ends, how this project is going to contribute to their skill development, what is the expected outcomes and impacts, and this is something that you will show in dissemination, exploitation, and communication activities that you will have, and the expected scientific, societal, and economic impacts. So for the career perspectives and employability, again, this fellowship, this Marie Curie fellowship cares about the fellow. They want the fellow to, you see that the grant is really, it's more for your, to make sure that you have the best conditions, the best working conditions, that you can really focus on the science and on your career development. So the fellowship, the vision of the fellowship is very important in this proposal. Make sure that you demonstrate long-term career vision that is credible and clear and measurable. It's easy to understand if you can achieve it or not. Provide examples of what kind of career opportunities you are seeking after the fellowship. Explain how this fellowship is going to contribute to your future employers with regards to skill and knowledge. Show impact of fellowship collaboration. For example, how it can help you start additional projects, and detail the supervisor and host institution support for career and skill development. The outcomes and impact, the expected outcomes and impact of the project need to show how you are maximizing the outcomes and the impact, and you show it in the communication, dissemination, and exploitation activities that you will present. So what are the communication, dissemination, and exploitation activities? So these are, the communication is how you're going to communicate your project to an audience that is not necessarily the scientific community. It can be the public. For example, it could be non-experts, it could be the media, schools, the social media, how you're going to communicate how your project is advancing and all sorts of results that you want to share, but again, with the non-expert community. Dissemination, how you're going to, how, where, and how much you're going to share your results with the scientific, this is with the scientific community, in which papers, what data you're going to share. And then there's the exploitation, which is at the end, really more at the end of the project. What are you going to do with these results? Are you going to use it? Is there going to be any intellectual property related to it? Are you going? Do you want to commercialize them? Do you think there's going to be further research? So this is really for the day after, for users and the market. Each has a different audience, so each one has a different audience and channel, and you need to have measurable targets for each of them. I added here a link that further explains the differences between communication, dissemination, and exploitation. These are some examples of communication that you can just get an impression what they could be. All sorts of things that you can use to communicate your your project. And we saw in evaluations that we read that if that evaluators even really liked it when you are being extra original, as long as it's fit realistic. For exploitation, if there is any intellectual property from the project, then you need to explain what are the protection measures, patents, trade secrets, copyrights, commercial opportunities. Explain these. Explain if there is potential for this, then it is expected that you receive training in this aspect. Specify who will assist you in the host institution on these matters. If they are doing global fellowships, explain how the IP will be allocated between the two hosts. And have in mind that different intellectual property policies in different, there are different intellectual property policies in different sectors and different countries. Now for the scientific, social, and the economic impact. So scientific, you will always need to show what is the impact on the scientific level. But with regards to social and economic impact, this really depends on the project. Doesn't necessarily mean that this project will have an economic impact or social impact. So it really depends on the project itself. And the impact, what they're looking is the impact after the project finishes, not during the project time. It should be convincing. It should be timely and measurable and have direct impact. It should be very realistic. And also it will be very good if you can connect it to European priorities, such as the sustainable development goals or environmental aspects or health aspects. So I linked here all kinds of priorities that the European Union is seeking. And lastly, the implementation part. So it has 20% of the total score. This is where you explain how you're going to implement your project. And the evaluators will look at your work plan, the Gantt chart, what you will do in each month, what deliverables and tasks you will have, work packages, what risks you may have during the project and how you're going to handle them. The appropriateness of the effort assigned to work packages. So also this is something that they will look at, and they will look at the capacity and the quality of the host institution and participating organization, including hosting arrangements. So for the work plan, in the work plan, you need to show what work packages you're going to have. So for example, you can see here work packages in research, in management of your project, in training, KT is knowledge transfer, work plan for the dissemination and communication activities. And each work package has their own tasks and deliverables. You are going to show in your proposal a Gantt chart according to the months of your fellowship. So if suppose you have a fellowship of 36 months, then you will show a Gantt chart of 36 months, not more than that. Even if your project will extend after, it doesn't matter. You show only the months of your fellowship, of the fellowship of the time that you receive the grant. And you show it in you see in numbers. You don't specify a calendar date. You don't say in May 2028 I will deliver this and that. No, you just write numbers. You should include there where you're going to perform, to have your to have your secondment if you have short visits, when you're going, what length of time each work package is going to take, when you're going to have this task and when you're going to end a specific task, have a specific milestone, deliver a specific deliverable, and you need to make sure that it's consistent with your whole narrative. So with regards to timing and the efforts and the infrastructures available to you, the evaluators will again look at the proposal as a whole, and if they will see something that is not consistent with something that you wrote previously, then it will reduce points. So make sure that everything is very consistent. Now the Gantt chart, as I said, it has deliverables. You need to add deliverables there. Deliverables are concrete outputs that are being submitted to the project officer in the European Commission. There are, besides the deliverables of your research, there's also 3 mandatory deliverables in the Gantt chart: career development plan, data management plan, and a dissemination and exploitation plan. So each of them you need to deliver during your project, and you need to make sure to add those in your Gantt chart. Then there's milestones. Milestones are control points for you that you know that they show progress of your project. These are, as said, decision gates. These are not necessarily documents, but more decision points for progress monitoring. So also mention those. The examples could be results that you received from an experiment, a proof of concept, maybe even an event, and so on. And tasks. You also need to mention tasks in the proposal, in the Gantt chart. What tasks are you going to have to achieve your objectives and goals? And they need to have very clear deliverables and milestones, and need to be very specific and realistic with regards to the time and the resources that you have. The deliverables are linked to a specific task, and milestones can be more general. So it's not necessarily linked to a specific task. Then for the allocation of efforts, it need to show how the duration of the fellowship is sufficient for all of the work packages. Really show the evaluators that it is feasible, their project is feasible, ambitious enough, but feasible. Show a realistic workload and task dependencies. If there are task dependencies, really demonstrate how they are realistic and not to may not be too complicated to perform together. Justify time and effort and resources with project scope, and choose meaningful deliverables and milestones to monitor progress. You need to pick the deliverables and milestones very smartly, because they will dictate your workload. And you want to make sure that the evaluators understand and feel that the project is realistic and feasible. Risk assessment and monitoring. So you need to mention all the risks, to identify all the expected risks, not just scientific risks, it can be even managerial risks. And you need to also, for each risk, you need to rate what is their likelihood and what impact they could have, and then how you're going to reduce them or prevent them, or what you're going to do if they happen anyway, and how you will respond. What will be your plan B for each? Examples of risks. So scientific risks, for example, poor results, or even skill gaps in the science field. There can be ethical risks, some managerial risks, even organizational risks. For example, what if your supervisor is you already know in advance that it could be that she will leave their position during your fellowship. What will happen then? Logistical risks with regards to administration or maybe human resources aspects. And show how you and your supervisor will track progress your plan. One of the things that the evaluators really want to see is regular meetings with you and your host, so to show that you have someone there that always monitor you and mentor you and is available to you. So they really want to see you mentioning regular meetings with your supervisor. When are you going to submit your reports? What frequency? The KPIs, the key. Sorry, I forgot. All kinds of the measures that you have to show the progress, how your project is being progressed, and how the deliverables, also the quality of the deliverables is going to be assured. The key performance indicators. Sorry. So this is also one of the things that the evaluators would want to see, that you have everything measured and realistic and feasible. And a last point for the implementation part is the host capacity and hosting arrangement. This applies to any host that you have, your main host, your global host, the secondments. If you have a non-academic placement, also it regards to this, show what is the research environment, the labs, the equipment, everything that is relevant to your research that you have there and can access. What is the team size? What are the collaboration opportunities, the disciplines that you will work with? Who are the people and their expertise that you will work with? What are any practical arrangements going to be? Any technical support that you receive, administrative support, visa support, accommodation, what kind of help you will receive from your host institution. The more support that you show that you receive is the best. It really shows that the hosts can give you the best conditions so that you can really focus on your research and training. And this section is actually also something that you can expand in part B2, section 5. And our recommendation is actually to even begin in the part, before you think of drafting this section of this part of the evaluation, start with part B2, section 5. This is where you can expand even farther. And then from that, you can draw back and integrate it to your proposal. These were the evaluation criteria that and all the tips and points that we believe that are very important for you to know. And now I will also expand a little bit about other parts of the proposal. So in part B2, in section 4, you need to write your CV, you need to add your CV. So there are specific conditions there. You need to write it in full dates. You need to include the date of where you were awarded your PhD or successfully defended it with the exact date. This is where you can explain any career gaps or unconventional paths. And you need to make sure that you are consistent with what you wrote in part A in the portal and what you wrote in B1 in the section, in the excellence section, about when you described your skills. So you need to make sure that everything is consistent. You can list the achievements that are most relevant to your proposal. For example, specific prizes and awards, if you were invited to major conferences or organized international conferences, anything that could be relevant and impressive enough for what you are proposing, and you can mention it there. Section 9 of Part B2 is only for the researchers that are applying for global fellowships. Global fellowships, when you have two host organizations, when one of them is from a country that does not participate in Horizon Europe, such as the United States, even Canada. There are specific, you will see that there are specific requirements for, you need to add a letter of commitment from the host organization in the global country, and there are specific conditions there in the section of what you need to have to submit. So it needs to be on an official institutional paper with official stamp. It needs to be up to date, so that the evaluator knows that the letter is regarding the proposal of this year. It needs to show that the institution is expecting you, knows that you are applying with them, and they will explain what infrastructures they will have to support you, and what role exactly will they have to support your research. And in addition, they can add any further information that might be useful, but it is a must. Sorry, it is a must to attach. If you are doing global fellowships, you must attach a letter of commitment from the global fellowship. This is the only way to, at the proposal stage, to know that really the host institution is looking to accept you for a postdoc in their facilities. Some common mistakes to avoid. Mistakes that will make an instant rejection is that, for example, if you're doing global fellowships and the host organization is really in a country that does participate in Horizon Europe and not outside Horizon Europe, so this would be an ineligible proposal. If you're missing any part of the proposal, you did not upload part B1 or part 2. If you did not add your CV, did not add the letter of commitment if you're doing the global fellowships. And then on part A, there are also all kinds of things that are very common that happen, and they're not an immediate rejection, but they may cause issues. Sometimes they will get back to you and ask you to correct it. Sometimes it could just reduce points, so it's better to just avoid it. I will read a few very quickly. If you chose the wrong type of action, for example, you chose global fellowship instead of European fellowship. You forgot to write your abstract, or to choose the panel, or choose keywords. You need to choose keywords, free keywords with which the system can match you with the relevant evaluators, and so on. There are many kinds of mistakes that could happen. And now in part B, there are also all kinds of mistakes that you can avoid. Make sure that you are consistent with the participating organizations, the budget that you have, the project duration. Make sure that you follow the template. Make sure that you follow the current template of 2026. Your CV needs to also match all the parts of the proposal, part A and part B1 and part B2. Everything needs to be consistent. Make sure that all the mandatory deliverables are in your Gantt chart. And on the right, you can there are links to documents that really list all those mistakes, the mistakes in this slide and the mistakes in the last slide, and even more. So you can read further, and it is very advised to check yourself before you submit and make sure that you avoid these mistakes. And finally, final tips before you submit. Content-wise, make sure that really your objectives are clear and consistent. Make sure that your ambition is balanced, not too bold, but not too cautious. Make sure that the research and the career development is emphasized, and write as a narrative and not as a scientific paper. Respect the rules. The narrative part, the part B1, has a limit of 10 pages. So make sure that you stay within this limit. Any excess pages will not be visible to the evaluators. So it will be a shame if you write more than 10 pages and it will not be visible to the evaluators. Because the competition is so high, treat each criterion and each aspect in each criterion as if it weights 100%, because you really need to have a very high score in order to get funded. And best way is really to have a checklist and make sure that you answered each aspect of each criterion. Start early, because you will write the proposal many times and you can submit as many times as you want until the last minute. Work closely with your supervisor and your host, and have also read your proposals if you can. Experts and non-experts, you get their opinion. And again, you can contact the national contact points, such as myself, for Israeli institutions, and any other national contact points around the world that may help you with your proposal. You have your list of all the resources that can assist you, the guide for applicants, the frequent mistakes in the submission, all kinds of proposal writing guides that are very useful, the list of the national contact points around the world that you can contact, and also platforms. If actually you're here but you still don't have a host, then you can search for a host in the links in this slide, the Euraxis portal, the matchmaking platform, and also in the calls page. I added here, we will not go through it, but I added here slides with exercises that you can practice offline. For example, how to write your abstract, your training plan, the communication plan. And also, at the very end, I added all kinds of guidelines on how to write a career development plan, even though this is something that is mandatory during your project and not in the proposal stage. It can help you really maybe arrange your thoughts about what your vision is, where you want to be in 5 or 10 years. So you can also look at this and can be useful. And with that, I finished all the slides. And I will go to the rest of the questions that I still have not answered, and you are welcome to write more. And you have here also my email address and the email address of Smadar. I think that is not showing. Just a second. Yes, okay. Of Smadar. Smadar is the manager of the Maurice Curie Actions department here, and you can send both of us questions if you have. Okay, so I will now go through the rest of the questions. So let's see where stopped. Let's see. So I think we stopped at, okay, can you say more about secondments? I think, wait, is this necessary to include? Also, what does the minimum of single line spacing mean? Okay, so regarding secondments, it is not mandatory. You can choose if you want to have a secondment, but it's not mandatory. A secondment is when you have a significant period of time in a different organization, wherever in the world, in any sector, can be for a few weeks and a few months, and up to 50% of your project duration. It can be several stays, it can be in several institutions, but it's not mandatory. It's up to you, only if it's necessary, only if it can advance you as a researcher, then you can add those. And if you do add those, then you need to mention what who is going to supervise you during your time there, because it's going to be a significant time or for a significant cause. So you need to also make sure to explain the hosting arrangements there. And sometimes it's if you are adding it, it could sometimes be a tiebreaker in some cases. But there are many other aspects that can be also a tiebreaker. Only mention it if it's really necessary and can advance you. A minimum of single line spacing, it's in the Word. You can see it in the Word app. It's the spacing between the sentences. Are there any winning proposals in humanities available as examples in addition to Cordis for abstract? So full proposals are not available at all. Even if we receive proposals to proofread, we are not allowed to share them, even if the researcher themselves agree. They contain sensitive information. They contain information about you, the researcher. They contain information about your research with sensitive data and maybe intellectual property, and we cannot share full proposals. And also, I will say that the competition is so high, it increases every year, especially now with the AI tools. It increased significantly, almost doubled the number of submissions from one year to another. That even if a proposal won 2 years ago, maybe it will not win this time. So unfortunately, we cannot share proposals. Can the references in part B1 should appear at the end of the file in font size 8? Yes, references can definitely be in font size 8, yes. I've been told that you are not allowed to have more than one supervisor or mentor. Is that true? No, you can have more than one. If you're meaning, definitely if you have two host organizations or even a secondment, and then you have another temporary supervisor, they need to work together. But also there are cases where there are two supervisors from the same institution or from the same country. You need to explain who is the main supervisor and who is the co-supervisor. It is allowed, and you can contact me if you want more details about this. In part B1, we need to write up 10 pages, including references. Yes, yes. You need to make sure that you only add what's necessary. Yes. Are we getting with the grade if the proposal explanations about the evaluation, strong weak points in our proposal? So 2 years ago, yes. last year, there were 2 years ago when you received the evaluation summary report, your evaluation report, you received comments that said, for example, hosting arrangements are not sufficient enough. Details about the gender balance are not justified, for example. Very briefly, but there was some you could at least know what you're speaking about. Now they're not detailing as much because they have so many proposals to evaluate. They I'm not sure how it's going to be this year, but in 2025, the evaluation reports, they had the questions of the proposal, and underneath each question, they wrote whether it's excellent, good, or fair, and not more than that. About the new 11 font size rule, any tips to dealing with that in tables? The Gantt especially looks a bit funny. I know, but try and see how you can still make it work. The reason that they do that is because there were many researchers that wrote a proposal even for just wrote things in tables, even just for simple answers. For example, for the objectives and the risk and the host organizations, hosting arrangements. So it's created inconsistencies, an exploitation of the proposal writing, and the commission wants to make it as fair as possible. So yes, so now everything has to be 11 font size in size 11. Apart from getting a letter of commitment from the host organization, do we even need the letter from the secondment while submitting the application? No, just only if you're doing global fellowship, then you need to have a letter of commitment from your global host organization. But if you're doing secondment, you do not need to add a letter of commitment. It is the evaluators will assume that this is something that you already discussed with your supervisor at your host organization, and because you are also detailing their hosting arrangements there and who is going to be your supervisor there, then they expect it to be something that is really going to happen, but no letter of commitment is required. Also because these things are actually could be dynamic. It could be that eventually you will not need a secondment, or you need to have it for a shorter period. So there is no need for a letter of commitment. I understood that in Europe, maternity leave is considered in evaluating professional growth, unlike in Israel. Do you have suggestions on how to include it in an Israeli-style CV and where it's generally not considered? Let me think about that. Well, your CV really need to make sure that you need to make sure that you address any career gaps that you have. So if you had maternity leave, you need to mention it. This is not something that is being that comes that this or less. You need to just to make sure that you meet the rule that you have up to 8 years of full-time research experience after you received your PhD. So if you had periods of maternity leave, they do not calculate it in this. They do not calculate this in their calculation. I'm not sure I fully understood the question, but there, if it needs to be mentioned, it needs to be mentioned as something technical that explains why there is a career gap there. Can you send the national contact in the US? So you have in the slides a link to the website where all the national contact points around the world with their emails and names and emails, and you can filter United States and see if there are national contact points there and contact them. But if you're doing if you're doing your research in the United States, it means that you're doing a global fellowship. So it means that you have another host in a European country, which means a Horizon Europe country. You need to contact the national contact point in the host from the host organization in your in these countries and not in the global country, because eventually the institution that will receive the grant is not the global. Not directly anyway. It's not the global institution. It will be the European institution, or meaning the institution that is participating in Horizon Europe. So the interest of the national contact points in the European countries is very high to help you receive the grant. Because when you receive the grant, the local institution receives the grant. Then they transfer some of the money to the global institution for the period that you're doing your global fellowship, but the money goes directly to the European institution. So it is advised to contact the local, the national contact point in the country of the European institution. If I plan to attend any workshops or organize conferences, and would like to refer to the web pages of such workshops so the reviewers can access that. Should the link be inserted in the proposal body text or as a footnote? It's up to you. It's up to you how you choose. There is no rule regarding it. In the footnote, it takes less space, but it's really up to you. What if I would like to be jointly supervised by two mentors within the same Israeli institution, but across different departments? That's accepted. That is accepted. You just need to really justify it and explain how it's going to work, how they're going to communicate between themselves, and how they're going to monitor. You really need to elaborate on this, on your proposal, how they're going to work together. But that is accepted. But you need to also mention who is going to be the main one. The main there's always a one supervisor that is the main supervisor and a secondary supervisor, but they will work together. You can do that. Just need to explain it in the proposal how it's going to work. I will share the slides, yes. If after the grant someone aims to make a career in research and academics and to continue with the proposed research, will it be acceptable? Of course. You can continue with the project with the if you want to continue for example, there are more things that you want to research in this within this field or project, and you can definitely do it. You're not going to mention it in your Gantt chart or not necessarily in the proposal, but you definitely can do that. And it is not something that is being you do not need to report it after the proposal, the project ends. Can you please clarify the differences between tasks and deliverables? I'm not sure I understand how they differ in practice. Also, should the tasks themselves be included in the Gantt chart or only the work packages with the deliverables and milestones? So everything needs to be included in the Gantt chart. So this is really your how you schedule your project. What is the timeline there? When you're going to execute any part of the work. So you need to add the tasks. You need to add the work package, the length of the work packages, what tasks are within the work packages, the difference between task and deliverables. So tasks are all kinds of things that are that are part of the work package in order to, for example, have to complete the work package of a specific research that you do. You have several tasks to perform, and a deliverable is something that it could be like a report, for example, that you issue after you finish a task, for example, or several tasks. Then you issue a deliverable. What is the benefit of submitting more than once before the deadline? Will you see errors in the application? So actually, it is very advised to submit your proposal not in the last minute, but try and submit it even as a draft, just a plain draft. As much as at least a few days before. I would say even now you can just test it, and yes, you will see errors where it's where there will be signs of errors if there are places that fields that you did not you did not fill. So yes, I will say test it now so you can see which errors you received. And as I said, you can submit your proposal as many times as you want. Only the last version on September 9 at 5 o'clock Brussels times count. But for the part A, there are several things. For example, the abstract that you cannot edit, not the abstract, the acronym that you cannot edit afterwards. So, but yes, I will say submit it as much time as you can before, so that you can test all the errors that you see, and then you can know in advance what you missed and can fix it. And if you need technical help, technical support, you can have the time to do that. And who can be used as a contact person? Who can be used as a contact person? Supervisor or researcher? Who should be the third person? Because I saw where you vote, it must be 3 contact details, right? So you have supervisor, the researcher, and the contact person. So contact person would be someone from the host institution. Usually it's their research authority. And can we have more than one secondment? Yes, you can have more than one secondment. You can have as many secondments as you want. The limit is just the duration. So it can be up to 50% of your fellowship duration, or 50% if it's European fellowships, or up to 50% of the time that you spend at the global host institution if it's global fellowships. But you can have more than one. You can have as many as you want, as long as it supports your proposal, relevant and feasible. Okay, so I think I answered all the questions with just a few minutes after our time. I thank everyone who joined this webinar. I know this is a lot of information, and I will share with you the slides so that you can read it again conveniently. And if you have any questions whatsoever, you can send your questions to me. You can see here my email address, and I will be happy to assist you. So thank you very much, and have a great day, and good luck. Thank you.